Everyone dreams about retirement, but I'll tell you, not everyone's ready for retirement.
And we don't just mean financially, we mean emotionally, mentally, physically, just the entire spectrum of everything in your life.
So we're going to give you today 4 things to think about to make sure you get right before your retirement so you can launch yourself into this phase of life and be really successful.
These are really 4 warning signs.
Warning signs.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, they're 4 warning signs that if you're feeling this way, you got to either do something now or postpone your retirement.
Well, when we retired, we knew the warning signs. We knew what we needed to do because we had watched my father fail miserably at retirement. And we said, we're not going to have that kind of retirement. We're going to get it right from the word go.
But
and
we
got
didn't.
it wrong from the word go.
Right.
And we got in trouble with some of the things that we're talking about today.
Did we really think we knew the warning signs? I don't remember even thinking that there would be warning signs. I remember just thinking there was going to be palm trees, pina coladas, comfortable beach chairs, and a lot of really good books.
That's the warning signs.
That didn't feel like a warning sign.
It's a warning sign.
Okay.
You cannot enter this phase of life thinking about hammocks and pina coladas on the beach.
A pina colada every now and then does sound good. Not gonna lie.
All right. Well, then make sure before you retire, you know how to make the best pina colada ever. Stay till the end and we'll give you Jody's special pina colada recipe.
It's a skinny girl pina colada.
Oh my God. All right. So what's the first warning sign is, and this might apply to everyone who's watching this. If your identity as to who you are is closely tied to your title, your successes at work, your role at work, the team that you lead, the tighter your identity is tied into that, the harder time you're going to have to retire, to make the transition. You're going to run into trouble. So you need to think about that.
Well, and I would say it's not even just the tie of your identity.
Why are you bouncing?
I don't know. I'm like bouncy today. But it's not even just the tie. It could even be the more successful you've been in your career.
Okay.
In your job, in your role, in your title, in your climbing the ladder. You know, the more successful you've been, ego will attach to success.
Right.
Right? So it's harder to break that paradigm of ego moving into retirement without all the things you mentioned, the title, the corporate jet, the expense account, the golf club that company paid for, whatever it was.
I miss the corporate jet that I never had. We need a corporate jet.
We could never get a corporate jet.
We have to build
It is
this
a
business.
bad carbon footprint.
Make sure you
not doing
forward
it.
our emails, our videos to other people so we can get a corporate jet.
I am not getting corporate jet.
Never going to happen.
No.
But here's the thing. If you have that, if your identity is tied into that, what's going to happen is when you do retire, it's going to feel like a downgrade, not an upgrade. You're going to get into it and you're going to enjoy the freedom, but then you're going to think, well, who am I? What do I do? How do I get fulfillment? I don't have any meetings to run. No one needs me. This feeling of being needed during your career is great. No matter what you're doing, people come to you as you're there longer, you're wiser and smarter, and people say, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And there's a sense of accomplishment and a sense of fulfillment when that happens. But when you step away from that, people aren't calling you up saying, hey, Joe, you remember that time so-and-so, I need some help, or you remember this client? It doesn't happen. They might call you for a week or a month, maybe a couple months. Maybe you'll see friends for lunch, but it's over, my friends, and you've got to find something new. So if this is you and you're feeling like, gosh, everything about me is my job and my role and my identity, got to think long and hard about pulling the trigger.
Well, the other thing I would say that falls within this category that I know happened to me, and if it's happening to you, stop it right now, is the bad habits that made me successful at work, the bad habits that tied my ego, my success, my climbing the ladder, my titles, you know, all of the accoutrements that went with the job. The bad habits like, you know, eating late, eating out, drinking, a bottle of red, a bottle of white to start, a bottle of red later, client dinners, a bottle of red, bottle of white. But, you know, those bad habits, you know, not getting good sleep and all, those, because they're tied in with your identity and your career and your title and, you know, all the things, those are really hard to break as you're entering this uncharted water phase, you bring with you those bad habits. And that is, I think, the death spiral.
Well, just to put a ribbon on this first one, what it made me think of is we talk a lot about learning and growing and all of that, but you have to do almost in the beginning unlearning. You have to unlearn these bad habits, these bad skills that you had, because they're not useful in retirement. So while you're learning new things and learning how to grow your mind and expand your mind, you have to unlearn some of those old bad habits. Would you say that?
I would agree. And unlearning is as hard as learning.
Yeah. So here's another thing. When you start thinking about retirement and you're getting close and you can't wait for this deluge of freedom, this deluge of free time, this 40 plus hours of free time that come your way that you're yearning for, too much free time can really get you in trouble. You're just not used to it. And like we said earlier, the more demanding your job, the more closely tied to your identity, the more you get all your joy from your job. When you leave that behind, it's like, cutting the umbilical cord, and all of a sudden now you're like a newborn infant again. How was that analogy?
It's a good one.
And you've got to breathe on your own. You have to figure it out on your own. So you've got to really think about putting some pins in the board, some thoughts in your head about what you're going to do on day one, and day two, and day three.
And what I would say is that this is a really hard sell for us to you all, to the society at large, that, gosh, too much free time, you're not going to like it because you're bundled tightly in your career and you're playing whack-a-mole perhaps day after day after day, going from thing to thing, and you just can't, in your mind, you just can't wait for the free time. The thing that I think becomes exposed early on is lack of structure. So let's leave the time piece off the table for a second.
You mean the hours?
Just the hours,
Okay.
because it's a hard sell for us to tell you you're not going to love your free time. Because, by the way, you might love some free time, some. But total free time really muddies the water in terms of clarity for you into the future. And the combination of total free time and zero structure, when you've lived since the beginning of time, probably pretty structured, grade school, middle school, high school, structure, college, a little looser, but still structure. First job, second job, third job, structure. Then you get kids, and what are you? You're now the king and queen of structure. You're adding, logistics and structure to everything, and then it dissipates. It just completely goes away with the advent of this time affluence that people come. So again, that's a double-edged sword and can really cause a real big spiral in many people.
Here's what I would say. We're all digital these days. If you have a career and you've worked, you have a calendar at work. And you're looking at it thinking, oh my gosh, no more Monday morning meetings, no more executive team meetings, no more client meetings, and you want to clear the calendar. Well, I will tell you that while that is stressful, I think it's even more stressful to have a calendar from Monday to Friday completely clear, nothing written down. That is stressful because Sunday night you say, well, what am I doing tomorrow? Well, I don't have anything planned. Well, let me see about Tuesday. Let me see about Wednesday. All of a sudden now you realize you have absolutely no plans, and maybe you have no plans and your wife or husband have lots of plans, and you're like, I'm behind the eight ball. So we are big planners. We plan fun. We plan the gym. I mean, in my calendar, 5 days a week, 5 a.m. is the gym. 10 o'clock is, what do we do?
Team calls.
Team calls at 10 on Monday. Team call 2 o'clock on Monday. Jody's golf day is Wednesday. My golf day is Tuesday. We have boating at night at 4 o'clock. We actually schedule everything. We schedule errands. We don't do errands on the weekend because it's busy. So get used to actually putting some things in there. Lunch with a friend. I try to, on Wednesdays when Jody's golfing, that's my day. So I try not to work. I try to go to the gym, maybe go out for breakfast with a friend, have lunch with a friend. So I'm filling it with things that are in my calendar so I'm not stressed about I have a completely empty day. I don't know if you even noticed, we have a family calendar.
8 a.m. on Fridays.
What is it?
You scheduled fun with no details.
Fun Fridays.
I'm not really sure that that's really counting as a schedule.
But if it's blank, we won't do anything. We got to do something fun. It forces
I
us
only
to
noticed
think about something fun.
because I was trying to schedule hair appointments,
No,
and
that's
I
not
was
fun.
like, there's a couple of Fridays that say fun that I'm going to have to steal an hour or two to get a haircut.
So don't think that freedom is the answer, because it's not. You've got to think about having some kind of plan with some other people, some learning, whatever it might be. So if you're thinking of retirement or you just retired, there's a link down below, our 1-year retirement checklist. Make sure you click that. It's an amazing worksheet. It's one of our most favorite, not our favorite. Yeah, it's our favorite.
It's one of the favorites, yeah.
Our subscribers' favorite. It gets downloaded more than any other worksheet. 1-year retirement checklist. Check it out below. All right, what's our next one?
All right, the next one is some of the hardest conversations are the ones you just really shouldn't avoid. So if you're avoiding conversations with your spouse or partner, with your children, with any significant relationships in your life about your retirement, you're not ready to retire, because you really have to go into this phase of life owning your decision, owning your financial plan, absolutely 100%, and owning your life plan, your health plan, your longevity plan. And you have to be able to clearly articulate that to people that matter.
And I think it's important to ask your partner, your spouse, your significant other, what are their retirement dreams? I'm sure you have your own dreams, which is cool. I have mine, Jody has hers, and we have ours. And they don't always line up, and they shift. So we've been in this for 8 years now. It shifts a little bit. You know, it changes, our priorities change. But don't just assume that your dreams are the same as your partner. You have to have that difficult conversation. And I'm the worst at conversations that end up with not stress. Well, I just told you today, this
Controversy
morning.
or
Controversy, yeah. I just shy away. If I know it's going to be a difficult conversation for me, then I tend not to bring it up. So I struggle with this one. But we cannot shy away from the difficult conversations because it makes a difference.
Well, and I think it's important to note that even no matter where your communication level is with your spouse, partner, or significant other, when you're thrown together, and if you choose to retire at the same time, or one's already retired, the other one's coming in after the fact, couples can grow apart even though the quantity of time has been increased if the quality of time has significant decreasing factor.
Yeah.
And I also think that, you know, when you're working and when you're both working or raising children and going a million miles an hour, it's easy to slough off, you know, conversations. We should probably talk about this. We'll table it for later, and maybe it never comes. You don't really have that choice anymore. You are going to begin to talk about almost everything because the quantity of time is vastly increased.
And what I would add,
Like vastly increased. The quantity of time that you spend together.
quantity or quality?
Yes.
What I would say is the longer you put off the difficult conversations, the harder it is to reset. And
Right.
you tend to just get used to the new normal that's maybe not really what you like or what you want. But then, as Jody said, you just don't bring it up anymore, and you just start live together, but you're actually growing apart because there's this silent friction that exists between the two of you. I notice it, Jody notices it, but I don't want to talk about it. And that's bad.
Yeah, and unfortunately, in our relationship, just to give you a peek under the tent, when I notice it, I do talk about it. And that doesn't, my timing isn't always great.
Ever. Great. Because I'm never ready for it. I never want to do it.
Right.
But we're getting better at it. So we're married 17 years. We've been in this phase of life for 8. And we keep trying to reinvent, trying to be more open, trying to be more sensitive, trying to be more thoughtful when we have the difficult conversations. And I think we're going to have a difficult one after this video. I'm just feeling like I'm ready for something.
Okay. What do you got?
I don't know. I'm going to just have to get up the courage and see if I could do it. No, I'm kidding. But anyway.
Well, the last point, the last warning sign is to really get a temperature gauge on your emotional preparedness for retirement. Even families with the biggest and most secure nest egg still end up in emotional turmoil if they haven't prepared early enough for retirement.
Because most people have been sold these lies for decades that the most important thing you need to do is save enough money so you can unplug from your career and you could plug into your savings and live the rest of your life happy as can be because you have enough money. But if you focused only on that, you're in for a rude awakening when you walk out the door from the office for the last time and walk back into your home and say, hey, sweetie, I'm home. Let's go. It's retirement time. But you haven't planned anything.
Right.
And he or she might be like, they may have retired 2 years before you, or they might still be working. Like, I don't have time for this. I'm busy. I have my own life. So you've got to really focus on the listen, the reason we started this channel, when we first retired, we Googled retirement roadmap. And the only roadmap we could find in retirement was around finances. There was nothing, it existed like what we're doing now.
Yeah. And I think to wrap that up, you got to think about financial freedom will mean nothing if you're mentally stuck. And so the mental wellness, the emotional resilience, the idea that you can thrive in this time frame has to start to come into your vernacular, into your everyday conversation, regardless of your financial freedom.
Right. Cool. All right. Let's take a couple questions that our team put together around this topic, 4 warning signs you're not ready for retirement. So here's one from Donna. She retired last year. She's 62 years old, and she said she feels lost. How do you rebuild identity when your whole life was about work? We just finished our 2025 masterclass, 8-week-long program, and part of it, one of the 8 pillars or 8 weeks was growth and discovery. And we take people on a journey. We give them a worksheet, and they go back over every job they've ever had, even as a youngster. Newspaper, washing cars, cutting grass, babysitting, dog walking, working in the ice cream shop in the summer, all the way up to every job and role you had in your career. We want you to list that job, how many years you did it, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, and when you were doing it, how it made you feel. And when you go through that process, you go back and circle every one of the job or roles that you liked and how it made you feel. And you start to build memory, and memory comes back to you, and you start to build this new idea of what I could do going forward, whether it's volunteering or writing or whatever. That's just one of the worksheets in the masterclass, but it's actually a pretty good place to start.
I agree. I think that's a great answer.
Okay. All right. This is from Charles. He's 68 years old. I thought I'd love all the free time, but now I feel restless. How do you find new structure without feeling restricted?
Well, your answer would be, start to put things on your calendar,
Right.
Create habits and routines that you can live by and live with. Charles, I like a little bit of balance. I don't love to plan every hour of the day. In my mind, that's jamming, like you're just jamming stuff in. So I plan my mornings pretty tightly from about 6 a.m. until, let's say, noon. And then Mark and I typically have lunch together. So whatever the morning look like, then we'll have lunch together. But I like my afternoons free. I like to be able to go take a long walk on the beach. I like to go meet a friend for a cup of coffee late in the day. I like to read my book. I like to listen to a podcast while I'm walking the dog. I like to play pickleball. I like to take a golf lesson. So in my mind, the retirement side of that day for me starts at noon.
There you go. There you have it from Jody Rollins. Okay. Let's see. I like this one. Here. Hi, I'm Joanne. I'm 70 years old. My husband and I have totally different ideas about retirement. How do you find common ground? So if you've been following us for a while, this might sound familiar. Joanne, you've got to find things that are important for you, and your husband needs to find things that are important for him. And then you need to find 1, 2, 3, or 4 things that you want to do together. And one tip is to start something new that neither one of you have done, because now you're a beginner. You're both beginners. If he's like a super deluxe pickleball player and he plays competitively and he says, why don't you come pickleball with me? You're not going to like it because he's really good and you're not. And it's not going to feel right. So I can't think of bowling. No.
Gardening, painting,
Gardening,
building
painting,
furniture,
volunteering
grandparenting,
together. There you go.
grandparenting
But
together.
find some things together to do. One thing, even if it's just a walk after dinner or right after breakfast.
We
or
had
in the middle
friends.
of the day. The bicycle riders.
No, that's
Okay.
not who I was going to say. But we had friends in Essex, Connecticut that they loved to do very different things. But the one thing that they did together every night was, and when I say power walk, I mean power walk. Like really pushing each other on this like competitive power walk. And they loved doing that together.
Yeah, well-
It sounds kind of silly, but I mean, it was so good for them and their relationship. And, because they did have different interests. She liked flowers, puppies, and babies, and he liked golf, sailing, and something else, cigars.
Yeah, there's couples.
The Halperins.
Oh, well, yeah.
The Halperins, they ride bikes together every day. They ride 5 miles together.
So they both had cruisers, not 15 speeds, like 3 speeds.
Like beach cruisers.
Pedal brakes. Yeah. And you see them together. They do 5 miles. They get down every cul-de-sac and they go back and they go in.
And they're
out.
chatting and laughing.
I just saw them on the way back.
They're
today. We
so
both
cute.
did. Yeah, they really are. They do that every day together.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's 5 miles on the bike and it takes 45 minutes. And they chit chat and see people. They stop sometimes. So yeah. All right. Let's see.
One more?
Yeah. Maybe 6 more.
Oh, boy.
Hi, I'm Elaine, 66. How do you know if you're truly ready or if you're just convincing yourself that you are?
I would say try it. I'm coaching a woman right now who decided she's a high-level professional in another country, and she decided that she was going to take 2 months, 60 days, starting November 1st, so starting this weekend, not working all of November and all of December to try retirement, to see if she was in fact ready. And she's journaling what she's missing, what she's happy about. And she's got the ability to take 2 months to do that. And I think it's such a gift.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Watch this next one. Give me 15 minutes and I'll save you 6 years of a miserable retirement. It's a great one to watch after this.